All right, good evening. I've got 6 o'clock. It's Thursday, June 19th, 2025. I'm here to call to order this meeting of the Columbus Utility Commission meeting. Matt, if you could take a roll call for us.
Handler?
Here.
Hammer?
Here.
Tone?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Sanderson, Rule, and Finkler are excused.
We do have, yep. The meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next item is to approve the agenda unless there's any alterations or deletions.
So move to approve the agenda.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Public comment. Is there anyone present this evening for public comment? I see no one. So then we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items, which would be the approval of the minutes from the May 22nd Utility Commission meeting and also the June 3rd Special Utility Commission meeting. Also the approval of the Utility Department Cash Disbursements Report and Accounts Payable Report, and then the outage report. Are there any questions on any of the consent agenda items? If none, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? If none, or actually, we need a roll call on that one, Matt.
Hammer?
Aye.
Tone?
Aye.
Curtis?
Aye.
Handler?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Item number 4 is resolution number 2025-01. It's a resolution to accept the Columbus Wastewater Treatment Plant's Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, the CMAR report. Have the report in our packet. If there's any questions on it.
And just to add here, this is the first time this report's coming to the Utility Commission, as it's the first full year of operation of the wastewater plant under the Utility Commission.
I did notice we pretty much got straight A's except for a couple of classes, but it looked like that was due to the amount of rainfall we got during the summer. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, due to the flows and the condition of the plant with those flows, we did quite well. So it was
Okay.
actually a pretty good report for what we had.
Okay.
Spoke to Peter about it. He's anticipating straight A's next year. So he'll get a nice little sticker on his report card.
Gold star.
Yep.
All right, unless there's any questions on the CMAR report or the resolution, I'll take a motion to approve resolution number 2025-01.
So move.
I'll second.
Get a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2025-01 to accept the Columbus Wastewater Treatment Plant Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for 2024. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Can move on to item number 5 then, which is the award of unit pricing contract to Jolma Utilities for multiple year overhead electrical facility installation.
This is tied to the presentation that Forrester gave a couple of meetings ago about the conversion of the electric utility. This is anticipated multi-year work and locks in a contractor with identified pricing. This was put out by Forrester for quotes, and Jolma was the lowest responsible bidder.
And there were 6 contractors who bid on the project. This is the recommendation. I also noticed on the back that it said that there will not be an official contract until the task orders are established for this. So this is just one step in the process.
Correct.
Any questions on this one?
It's locked in pricing based on the unit of the measure of work. So however many feet, we're gonna pay a set price based on however many feet of undergrounding or, well, this is the overhead work. So I'm not sure exactly how that's spec'd out, but it's known pricing based on the work anticipated.
Unless there's any other questions, I'll take a motion to award the unit pricing contract to GNR Underground for a multiple-year underground, sorry.
We need to approve the overhead first.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading, yes.
No, that's fine.
Thank you, Joe. To make a motion to award the unit pricing contract for Jolma Utilities for multiple-year overhead electrical facility installation.
Okay, so move.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Do we need to take a roll call for this one? There's no money involved at this point.
I would think the task orders will require a roll call, but this can be a voice.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we can move on to item number 6.
It's easy enough to do.
Item number 6 is award of unit pricing contract to JNR Underground for multiple-year underground electrical facility installation. And again, this one is similar to the last one. We had 7 contractors submitted bids, and there's a recommendation in here for JNR Underground. Also, some other information
Yeah.
about why that recommendation was made.
I can explain this. It was, I think MP Systems initially was in initial review was the low, and they had some addendum and some additional language that wouldn't lock in their pricing over the length of term of the contract. So based on that and a reevaluation, it's recommended that JNR we're confident that they are the low qualified bidder when all factors were considered. JNR has a long-standing track record of working with the utility, has been a good contractor to work with, and there's a lot of comfort there as well. So,
That recommendation makes sense to me. Any questions on this one? If none, I'll take a motion to approve the award of unit pricing contract to JNR Underground then.
So move.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to award the unit pricing contract to JNR Underground for multiple-year underground electric facility installation. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We move on to item number 7, which is the award of quote to Forest Landscaping and Construction for $25,950 for lateral and manhole repairs.
so the next 3, 7, 8, and 9 are all tied to the Highway 73 Ludington Street DOT project, where this is getting this work done prior to pavement occurring. We got an updated schedule from the DOT today that identifies mill and overlay starting July 18th, 17th.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So it's a little bit delayed. It was initially expected to start July 7th, and they're pushing back a couple weeks on the schedule. So what that does is it gives us a little more time for some of this work to get done, which is helpful, but now is the time to make these repairs on the lateral manhole. And Jacob knows way more about this than I do and can answer any questions as well that you may have.
Questions from the commission? I do appreciate that you put in here about the funding, that it would initially come from the collection system reserves, and then when the bonding goes through, that would be,
Yeah, this was all part of the proposed borrowing in 2025 with collection system work, and just because of the timelines here, we want to make sure that we can get this work done.
okay. Unless there's any further questions then, I would take a motion to award the quote to Forest Landscaping and Construction for $25,950 for lateral and manhole repairs.
So moved.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quote to Forest Landscaping and Construction for $25,950 for the lateral and manhole repairs. Any discussion on the motion? If none, we'll have to take a roll call for that one, Matt.
Tom,
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Andler,
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Move on to item number 8 then, award of quote to Visu Sewer for $146,639.75 to install 3,333 feet of national liner.
This is the one where there's a decision to be made. There is a high priority recommendation of 1,525 feet of work for a little over $72,000, 72,644 to be exact, or the medium level priority of work to do a total of 3,333 feet of national liner at a cost of the 146,639 and 75 cents. So it really comes down to, and there's further information in the memo and support material that was prepared by Rupert Milke explaining this, but I'm gonna guess Jacob can do a better job than the memos or myself, so.
Basically, it's the condition of the sewers. We can line the high priority section, and then when we come back through in 5 years, that could all be damaged from what was medium priority, and it'll now be a high priority. When you have liner sections, it's better to do a longer liner section than multiple pieces. It's just like when you have, put straws together. You want to make sure it's as one solid piece as long as possible. So, plus the mobilization and everything else that goes in place, timing. If there's an emergency when the medium, as you could say, need area has an issue, we might not be able to get Visu Sewer here on time to do it before it's a catastrophic issue. So for the cost, it seems like it'd be a better idea to do the whole thing at once.
Is the amount of 146,000 then, would that be the cheaper per linear foot pricing then that was outlined in the
Yes.
cover page of 225 to 250?
Yeah.
If you do the smaller amount, it's $2.50 a lineal foot. If you do the full recommended amount, it's $2.25 a lineal foot.
And the funding is pretty much the same, correct?
Yep.
And the borrowing here was 300,000 for the collection system for both televising and then the repair work identified from the televising work that was done.
From what we've seen this year, though, I would say that next year's budget may have to be increased on that for the next section of televising and inspecting of our sewers. Because that's a very small section of town. That's a lot of money. Sadly, that so much of it's going to laterals, but 55% of your I&I is coming from laterals every day, so.
How much of the, 3,333 feet, how much of the overall project is this just areas identified that can be fixed with the liner versus are there sections which can't be lined, or are those covered in a different service?
I believe this is the only thing is that they looked at these sections that needed to be lined, because if there was an excavation that needed to happen, like it was a complete collapse, they would have noted that. Mike is pretty thorough with his reports, and he would have notified me right away if there was something that was collapsed that needed to be, excavated and replaced.
And that's in the work Forrest is doing, correct?
Correct.
What's the expected, or the life expectancy of the liner?
Longer than a sewer line, 30, 40 years.
Okay. The idea is to get that under before we have the street reconstructed. and
Correct.
Hopefully don't have to dig that
And
up again.
basically, it's a pipe in a pipe.
Yeah.
Once it hardens, it's harder than a pipe.
The lining will actually likely be done later this fall after the pavement, but because it's non-intrusive, it's all work that happens underground, so that when the pavement occurs, this isn't as time sensitive towards. But to get on the schedule for fall, that's how far out that Visu Sewer is in being able to schedule the work.
It actually is pretty cool to see them when they do this work, how they roll it out of the trailer and it goes through. If you have an opportunity to see it, it's actually pretty neat.
It was actually done at my old house
Oh, yeah?
years ago. I don't know if it was the same company or not that did it then, but yeah.
When they do large sections, it's amazing how fast it goes and cures in place, so it's pretty cool. Amazing what technology can do.
So I guess the decision we have to make tonight, whether we want to go with the full amount of 146, because then on the item title for the agenda report says 72, so we have the option to pick each one. I'm in favor of going for the bigger number, I guess, just to address the issue all at once instead of piecing it together.
And I agree. And I would make a motion to approve as it's stated, to award the quote to Visu Sewer for the $146,639.75 to install 3,333 feet of national liner.
Okay.
Smart play.
I will second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve or award of quote to Visu Sewer for $146,639.75 to install 3,333 feet of national liner. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion on the motion, could you take a roll call for us, Matt?
Curtis.
Aye.
Andler.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye.
Sanderson.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 9 then, which is the award of the quote to S. Brothers and Sons for $11,700 for manhole chimney tuck pointing and sealing.
This is again tied to the Highway 73 project. This is work that would be done prior to pavement work. And so there's sometimes sensitivity to this. Funding again would be the same as the other two projects where we'd use collection system reserves and then pay back the reserve fund once we do the bond issue.
Any questions on this one? All right, if there's no further questions, take a motion to approve the quote to S. Brothers.
So moved.
I'll second. All right, get a motion and a second to award the quote of S. Brothers and Sons for $11,700 for the manhole chimney tuck pointing and sealing. Any discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to let you guys, oh, go ahead.
What was your question, Jack?
Highway 73.
This is Ludington Street, Highway 73, and it's doing this repair work before the asphalt pavement the new asphalt is put down.
Damage to manhole sections such as this, it is increased due to H2S. So if we start seeing a large amount of more and more of these manholes with deterioration like this, it would be pertinent for us to really start looking into where our H2S is coming from in our collection system, because it's just gonna end up costing more and more money. And H2S is gonna eat anything. It doesn't matter if it's a liner, if it's tuck point, if it's gonna corrode pretty much everything but a rubber. So, it's nasty stuff. Just so you guys are aware.
Okay. All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If none, we'll take a roll call.
Sanderson.
Aye.
Andler.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
Item number 10, the award of quote to Dorner for valve rebuilds at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $25,560. It looks like there were 4 different bids for this project, and Dorner was the recommended low bid.
Yeah, this is repair and maintenance work at the wastewater treatment plant with needed valve rebuild work. Is there more you want to say about it, Jacob? Or I know this has been a high priority of Peter in getting some of this valve work addressed.
No, it's pretty much just lack of maintenance, and it's too far gone to even move. If the guys can't move the valves, they can't perform any operations in the plant. That's pretty much where they're at.
Sandy, go ahead.
From what I see in the bid information here, Dorner was doing a rebuild, the other companies are providing new valves.
Correct.
And is that because Dorner doesn't do the new valves, or why did we get different bids?
Dorner has the proprietary equipment to replace and rebuild those valves. That's most likely why they're rebuilding them. They feel that they're comfortable rebuilding them rather than replacing them in kind.
And do they offer a warranty with that work?
They generally do, yes. I don't know what the warranty, I didn't see the actual packet, but They usually do warranty their work. When I was with Brookfield, they would rebuild quite a few of our valves, and they would, I believe, provide a 3-year warranty on those valves.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Didn't have a cover sheet for this one that I could find. Is that gonna be, how's that gonna be financed?
There's a maintenance line item.
Okay.
The wastewater treatment plant in terms of the plant operation
So it's
maintenance line.
in the budget?
Yep,
All right.
yep.
Any further questions on item number 10? If none, I'll take a motion to approve the award of quote to Dorner for valve rebuilds at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $25,560.
Make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
I will second.
Brooke, you made the first?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion, motion and a second to approve the quote. Any discussion on the motion? Jack, did you have a question? Okay. If there's no further questions, we'll take a roll call on that one.
Hammer,
Aye.
Tone,
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Sanderson,
All right.
Handler.
All right, we'll move on to item number 11, which is discussion regarding city ordinance for sewer lateral repairs.
This was put on the list and talked about at a staff meeting earlier today as well. Staff's recommendation would be to revert back to the previous ordinance as it was previously written. There was a comment made from city engineer that we've added about $8 million of liability to the city with the ordinance change, and I know this is something that Peter and Jacob feel both strongly about, and Jacob's way better to speak at this than I am, so.
I mean, it's understood why the ordinance was put into play, but as we go along with the city and the condition of our laterals that are connections to our main sewer lines, it's going to be an exponential increase as we go on in time of the amount of repairs that are going to be needed. And for us to justify having a homeowner repair right now, it costs us roughly $6,000 to prove the difference. Two reasons is we have to have an official mark of where the right-of-way is versus where the property of the homeowner begins. And since our sewer lines aren't traced with a wire tracer, we can't find them through normal survey means. The other reason is we have to call somebody in to televise and properly GPS track and position where that line is cracked in the right-of-way via our maps. We don't have the technology to do that or the manpower to do that, so it's all something we have to contract out. And plus, like I said before, a minimum of 55% of every community's I&I to the system comes from laterals. So this is one of those things where if we identify it, it's something that we will have to fix now, or we'll have to basically push on to the homeowners to repair. If any line is repaired, any lateral is repaired, the smart thing to do would be to require that a street Y is put in at the house and a 3-inch diameter riser and clean out is put at the house, so that if the need of us to jet or a plumber to jet out the house or to televise or to rotor-rooter, they can do it from the clean out outside the home to our main. That way, when we have to jet, we're not pushing 25,000 PSI into someone's basement. We can go from the house to the street. So it's just one of the things that I know MMSD started doing in Milwaukee when they were doing repairs, and it saved a lot of time and a lot of money.
So I wanted to spend more time reading through this ordinance, but after your comments, I think this is something that I headed up probably over 10 years ago when I was on the city council, and I'm not sure that this completely repeals what the intent was back at that time. I do, go ahead, Matt.
I just want to clarify, the ordinance in the packet is our current ordinance. That's the current ordinance on the books. We haven't made any recommendation in terms of what a new ordinance would be. I think we wanted to have the discussion first, before proposing any changes. So,
The only thing that I saw in here that seemed relevant, or the addition of the Y on the property for a clean out, that's not, that's an existing ordinance right now? It is not. Okay. Did I?
No, it is not. It's just a recommendation that I'd made and a comment I made to Matt that even when we started this and we realized that my first couple weeks here, that we had no way to really televise or to clean out a sewer and up to where the plumber pushed everything to our main. If we had to go through and use higher pressure to push everything out, we had no way to do it. Because we'd be basically saying, okay, we can jet up to your house, no guarantees it's not gonna blow out your toilets. I mean, it's just the way it is. We can't do it. We have to go the opposite direction. I don't think anybody wants that mess in their basement. I know I don't.
Well, this one is near and dear to my heart because I lived through this, and what happened to me, and the reason that I wanted to change the ordinance was basically changing the definition of what the sewer connection was.
Right.
Because the sewer connection was wherever your lateral connected to the sewer main, and if it was under the middle of a state highway, it's your responsibility to
Right.
excavate, tear up the road. And it seemed like there was a great difficulty in finding a plumber that wanted to become a road worker because they had to post a bond with the city to open up the road.
Right.
And as I went through this whole repair process, it just surprised me at how much work it was creating for other people. And
Correct.
the intent that I had at that time was keeping the portion of the lateral that's under the roadway or out in the right-of-way as part of the utility system, or the city's responsibility of the utility, and everything from the right-of-way back the property owners.
Right.
So
That's like I stated, I understand why it was made. It's just, there was one more step that needed to be made. There had to be a marker placed in the sewer lateral that pointed out to us above ground where the right-of-way ended. And there isn't one, because we have no way to trace the sewer lines. There's no tracer line, there's no
You can
marker.
still make it the responsibility of the property owner. If they have a problem, they can run a camera down, and then they could probably have someone mark it from the ground. I mean, if you put a signal under through
And
the sewer.
we've requested to have plumbers provide us the actual footage and where exactly it is, but we also don't know where they're putting their camera in the house. It could be on the back side of the home, it could be on the far side in a drain. We don't know how far into the home it is. So they're saying, oh, it's 60 feet. Okay, 60 feet from the wall, well, that puts it right here in the middle of the yard. 60 feet from here puts it right outside the house. We don't know. That's the hard part, and if for us to clarify that, we have to pay and have somebody come up through the main and go up through to the lateral to see where the break actually is.
Jack, did you have a comment?
Didn't it always used to be at the curb stop?
No.
City started, I thought that's what it was.
The definition of a sewer connection was where your lateral connected to the sewer. If that's under the sidewalk across the street from your house or the middle of the road, that's where your lateral was, and that's what I changed. That was before the James Street reconstruction project that happened in town.
I apologize for not reading the proposal then. You want to
well,
create.
we really don't
curb
have a
stop here?
proposal, Jack. We wanna talk about this.
All
And
right.
to me, it seems like a compromise here is, like Jacob said, number one, we gotta start tracing our sewer laterals. And then two, putting the Y in at the property line.
That would be for just new construction, though.
A new construction or anything that's repaired.
A repair,
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like,
does.
if you're putting in a new subdivision, you know, yes, you want to make sure that you're able to jet to the sewer, not into a basement. Especially if it's going to be like Cardinal Heights with the multifamily complex. First floor might have a rude awakening if we had to jet up that direction, you know, so it makes sense, and, you know, the ordinance made sense to protect the liability of the homeowner, but we didn't complete the process of, okay, now marking where the actual right-of-way is to make it easy and simple for us as the utility and the homeowner to have a for sure definite point to where that point is. So it needs to be altered. To be perfectly honest, it creates risk on both parties.
I'm not going to fight this, but the original intent I thought was good because
It
was
was.
because of the I&I problem.
Yes.
I mean, when you look at the amount of old homes in this community, it's old clay tile. They're probably leaking. You get heavy rain, it creates a liability
Yep.
for the utility. And I do think that the homeowner has the responsibility of their lateral when it gets to a certain point, but I just don't think it should be underneath a road.
No.
One of the things that I experienced that alarmed me was when I called the sewer department when we had sewage in our basement. They were very, very helpful to try and advise me on what to do, and I had to deal with it as a homeowner. But when I had the Roto-Rooter guy come out and identified where the break was, it was underneath the road.
Yeah.
At that point, and it was my responsibility. But there were contractors working over the weekend, tearing up a utility underneath a public roadway, and I just kind of felt like no one's here watching this work right now. It's just all on good word, and that's what I was trying to prevent, really, was
Yeah.
making sure that there's some oversight once you start tapping into a sewer main underneath the roadway.
It makes sense, and plus, when you're tying into any construction into a public roadway, or even on the sidewalk, you're creating liability, and if it's on the homeowner's now liable for that repair or anything that would happen because of that. Same if the utility didn't do it properly, the community didn't do it properly, it'd be liable. It's just, the intent was good, it made sense, it's just that follow-through to make it actually a sound ordinance was never followed through.
Where do you feel like the onus was put on the utility more to prove that it wasn't in the right of way? I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to get.
It's just that for us for the utility to prove it, that's the problem, is to know where it's at in the right of way. And the fact that none of our sewer lines are traced with the wire, we really have no way to identify even where they're at. And the fact that we don't have the budget or the technology to purchase the budget or anything, to have it here, so we can say, okay, let's just find out. And we actually truly GPS line it and see exactly where the break is, ping that, and then we know exactly where on the map where it is. We have to hire somebody to do that. It's also not instantaneous. It takes a few days for us to have that happen, and it's not cheap. And then all it does is say, okay, this is where the break's at. Then you argue about who's going to pay for it. So it's nice to know when you put something in or you repair something, this is where it is, this is the definite, this is the end of our responsibility, this is your responsibility, shake hands. We could fix it all together. This percentage is yours, this percentage is ours.
Would it be as simple as putting something in writing that if you have like a plumber come over to check the situation, that you have a water utility person there, if handy, so that they can know where everything is coming from, like you said, whether it's the front of the house, back of the house, how far at that time?
I honestly don't know if that would be wise, because there would be then a utility person inside someone's home. I don't know how. I know with the electrical side, that's usually a no-no.
Yeah. I do think the onus should be on the homeowner to
Correct.
prove it. And, when this happened at our old home, they televised it and said, here's where the break is, and then they took a locator out there because they had something on their camera so they could locate it, and it was right under where my car was parked on the street.
It was your
So,
car's fault.
that was 10 years ago, so the technology exists for a homeowner to get it, televised and to prove where the break is. Also, following that, the city, I think, was taking a certain amount of the connection fee fund and issuing grants to homeowners, mostly for street replacements. Like if they knew that they had bad laterals or clay laterals on a certain part of the city, you could qualify for it if you had your lateral replaced along with the sewer main to get rid of the I&I issue.
Right.
I don't know if that exists any longer, but try to encourage people at the right time
Right.
to get their laterals replaced.
And there may be a need for us to look into how we can get funding laterals replaced. 'Cause it's just gonna happen. I mean, nothing lasts forever.
But there's different technologies
But there's different
now, too,
technologies
right?
now, and it's
Yeah.
a lot simpler than it used to be. And if we can find a way to give a pricing, like such as like with the, I keep bringing up MMSD, they have a massive amount of money and funding and also a hell of a lot more area to cover and more residents. But with their combined sewers, you know, they have a list of contractors that have already agreed to do the work to remove downspouts from the sewer laterals and put them into the storm sewers, and then also replace laterals that are damaged for I&I of the homeowners, and it's at a discounted price for that homeowner via the contract that the sewage district has with those contractors. We might have to come to the point where we have to do something like that here. I mean, a lot of these older communities are gonna have to do something like this, because if everybody has to pay individually, I mean, the contractors are gonna be just raking in money on everybody, because they know it's gonna be coming in. And then any excavation is, you know, $11,000 at least, if it's a long area, especially if it's in the wintertime.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on how big your lot is and how
Right.
far, you know, how far back your home is set, but, I mean, obviously the
Any,
homeowner has...
any money incurred on a homeowner unexpectedly is gonna be a burden. So the more we can do to lessen the burden for anybody would be the best.
Well, try to encourage them to replace it at the right time. If there's a failure, is also a benefit to the utility by removing I&I. If you've got an old clay lateral that's
Correct.
leaking every time it rains, I believe that was the intent of trying to create that grant that kind of went along with road replacements.
Right.
What was the other thing I was just thinking of?
Question.
Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
Do we have a policy for lateral consideration whenever we do a street reconstruction like we're doing on Park Avenue right now? I mean, they're gonna come in and dig all that up.
Just doing
Well,
an
they're not.
overlay.
Yeah, it's just a mill and overlay, it's not a complete reconstruction.
But the pavement would be gone. That would be an opportunity to do lateral work as opposed to waiting for it to break.
That project specifically, and I understand what you're saying, Jack, and on our city streets, we evaluate all of those things. On a state highway, we're at the mercy of the DOT's schedule, and they're planning a mill and overlay while keeping a lane of traffic open, and are going to move very expeditiously as they do that work. So trying to line up anything, it's a different process than when we do a complete street reconstruction, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And on a mill and overlay, I don't know if they get rid of all the pavement or if they're just
They're
shaving
going
off.
to gravel at,
Okay.
well, it's a full depth mill is what
Okay.
I've been told, but again, I don't know that,
There's still a lot more to remove to get down to laterals.
and I don't know if at any point in time, both sides will be completely removed or how that's going to work. I would assume that they're going to mill one side of the street while keeping the other side open, then mill the other side, then asphalt aside, and then asphalt aside, but I'm speculating
Yeah.
at that.
I understand there's problems dealing with the state on the highway. But we own a lot of municipal streets here, so when we do a street rebuild, wouldn't it be the time to, whenever we do that, wherever, that would be the time to like, think about the laterals up front, right?
Well, and we've got a great candidate next year to talk about this in regards to School Street, where that's an older section.
Oh, West School Street?
West School Street's an
Oh, yeah,
older
that's
section,
horrible.
is be a great case study example to look at this and what that would look like.
Yeah, those laterals should be visited, you know, in the
That's-
process when the pavement is
Well,
gone.
in the various street projects that have happened in the past, they've, if it was an older sewer, it was actually dug up to the house and replaced up to that point. No clean out put in,
Right.
but it was at least done up to the foundation of the house. So-
But the homeowner was still responsible for the portion that
There-
was on. There was the grant.
Yeah,
that
there was the grant
Yeah,
at that time, so.
that's something that I would like to see.
Larger projects like that, it's easier for a homeowner to
Right,
get grant
right,
opportunity.
right.
And to be honest, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this program with us doing a certain section every year of having it televised, mapped out, looked at, just so we can say, okay, this is what we have, this is where we're going, and now this is year 2, and we're seeing the trending of the cost going up with the amount of areas we're doing. So, we definitely need a lot of work to be done to eliminate I&I, even though, was it 10 years ago, we finished another I&I project in the community. But again, those areas that were probably fine before are now areas where we have an I&I.
Well, I will say that there was a liner put in the sewer main on the street where my lateral failed. So the main was great,
Yeah,
but then my lateral connection is what failed because
Yeah.
it still was an old clay tile.
Yep.
And then the street was reconstructed 3 years after that, and so the whole main was replaced. But I think generally when the city looks at doing street replacements, they're looking for the worst utilities under that street. So when
Yep.
they're gonna redo it, and then reach out to all the homeowners if they have a lead lateral to see if there's a grant available. I think having the clean out on a repaired or a new lateral is a smart idea. It benefits the homeowner as well. If they have a clog, they can
Oh, yeah.
access that if it's not in the house and it's between there and the street connection, so.
it's easy for a homeowner to even pop the cap off of there, look down with the flashlight and see if, well, I have water running here, plugs in the house.
Yeah.
So then they can call a plumber right away and they know where it's at, instead of having to pay the extra $200 and some or whatever it is to do the jetting.
So, just to recap, what we'll be working on is a updated ordinance policy, whatever we want to determine it to be, and I'll let Paul figure that out. But looking at a Y with a clean out at the right-of-way / property line on newer repaired sewer lines and laterals, tracer wire added, and then looking at what our street replacement plan is and how that impacts lateral replacements. To bring back for either approval or further discussion at the next meeting.
This says clean out would be 3 feet from the home, not on the right of way.
Yeah, it's generally cleanouts within a yard of the home, the foundation of the home.
So for new construction, that would be easy, but that wouldn't happen unless there was a lateral replacement or a
Correct.
failure, and then they would be obligated to put that clean out in there.
Correct. That's where yours comes out, but you could also move it out to the edge of your porch.
Don't nail down a couple of boards there.
Just drill a hole in the middle of your porch and, give you a T-handle. We'll just give you a T-handle to get down there so you can open it up in the middle of the porch.
I appreciate, the ability to voice my concerns anyway about that, because I felt like I was trying to correct something, and I just feel like having the control of the utilities under the street or in the right of way are important to the utility, and that hasn't really changed. I understand that it's a financial liability, but I do think the onus needs to put on the
Right.
property owner to prove that failure is not on their property.
Yeah, and it's just completing the circle, I
Yep.
guess you could say, of the idea.
Sure. All right, so we'll see a draft come back and we can discuss it further then?
Yep.
So we don't need to really take
Nope.
any action on that, okay. And then we'll move on to item number 12, which is discussion and direction related to an acting utility director. I don't think we have anything in our packet.
There's nothing. This
Okay.
is just a discussion and some direction, hopefully to me, in how the commission would like to handle this. We're approaching the 3-month period of me kind of serving in that role, and wanting to have the discussion if that's something the commission's interested in continuing, wanting to look at an internal option from the existing staff, or I've reached out to Kevin Brunner's firm, PAA, and they have 2 candidates who'd be willing to serve in an interim role. Both are retired. Neither would want to be here longer than however long we need them to be, to do, up to 2 days a week. Both are well-versed in municipal as well as utility operations. One was a public works / utility director in another community that he retired from, and another was a administrator in a community that he retired from. If there was interest in going that route, I think we would set up an interview panel that would likely include a member of the utility commission, maybe even a member of the utility staff, myself, interview them and identify who the best fit would be. We could do a similar thing if there were any internal candidates, or if your preference is for me to continue doing it. I think then that's going to result in a further discussion with the council about if that, I'm just concerned that I'm getting spread a little too thin with some other vacancies and transitions within the city, so.
Matt, with the potential for internal, I like the idea of giving people inside an opportunity to spread their wings a little bit. Have we had discussion with folks that might be interested in that?
We've not.
I do think that would be a nice opportunity, and if we're interviewing candidates from PAA, maybe that they could participate in that same process.
Yeah, I think first is seen as, is there anyone willing internally? And if there is, we could set up an interview process to kind of go through that.
I guess I would like to see internally first. First option, anyways.
So
I do
the-
think you've done an awesome job.
Well, what I will say is, where I've done most of the work is preparing the agendas and keeping the things moving to the utility commission. I think that the staff needs more than I've been able to give in terms of background and experience, so.
So this, you're talking about the person that would be over Jake and whoever Public Works.
Well, no, this would be a acting utility director in Jacob's absence.
Oh, okay.
Absence. It hasn't been discussed with her to this point.
I think my main concern is how thin you're gonna spread yourself. I think you've been doing a good job to this point, but obviously,
We have a pretty big transition going on right now in the finance department
Yeah,
here at the city.
I was
so
unaware of
that's
that,
my
too, yeah.
That's my primary concern.
Well, right, and we don't want anything else to suffer
Yeah,
either,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
But I think, again, you know, at least first check internally and then go outside if we need to. so.
yeah, I'd like to consider all options, I guess. Just because we don't know for sure, but I don't know if that's something that you need to bring back to us with further discussions with staff, or maybe get some more information from PAA
Yep.
on people that they would have as potential interims too, so.
Yep.
Anything
Gives me
else?
what I need.
Any other questions on this one? All right. With that, we'll move on to item number 13, which is to convene to close session pursuant to state statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and state statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub F, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems, specifically a leave accommodation requested by the utility director.
Michael, could you also let those at home know that we won't be coming
Yes.
back live on television?
We will be going into closed session and will not be returning for open session.
We'll return to open
Oh,
session, but we're not
you won't
going to
be taking
film that
any.
portion because,
Yeah,
yeah,
We
we'll
won't
let David go home for the night.
yes, David can go home. Thank you. With that, I'll need a motion to move into closed session.
So a motion to go into closed session as was stated.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to convene a closed session for the reasons read. Any discussion on that? If none, we need a roll call to go into closed session, correct?
Hammer,
Aye.
Tome,
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Sanderson,
All right.
Handler.
All right, we are in closed session.